You have probably read the words compound interest at least a dozen times in your life, maybe in a textbook, maybe in some article someone shared on social media, maybe in a self-help book you bought at an airport, and you nodded along, thought, yeah, I get it, and then went right back to doing the exact same thing with your money that you were doing before. And that gap, the gap between understanding something and actually having it rewire the way you live, is the single most expensive gap in the financial lives of most working Americans right now. Not credit card debt, not student loans, not even low wages. The gap between what you've read and what your brain has actually internalized is bleeding money out of your life every single month. And nobody in the personal finance space is talking about it the right way. Here's what I mean. Back in 1970, a factory worker in Dayton, Ohio named Gerald would come home on Friday night, cash his paycheck at the corner bank, hand his wife an envelope for household expenses, and put $60 in a jar on the top shelf of the kitchen cabinet. Not a brokerage account, not a 401k with an employer match, a jar. By the time Gerald was 58, that jar and the savings account it eventually turned into had become the thing that kept him out of the workforce when his knees gave out 3 years before Social Security kicked in. Gerald never read a book about money. He didn't have a Roth IRA, a financial advisor, or a podcast habit. What he had was a behavior that was simple enough that his brain didn't need to relearn it every month. It just happened. No friction, no decision fatigue, and no gap between knowing and doing. The reason most people today are in worse financial shape than Gerald, despite having access to more financial information than any generation in human history, is not ignorance. It is something researchers have spent the last 30 years quietly documenting in behavioral economics labs. And the finding is both obvious and brutal once you hear it clearly. Reading about money and behaving differently with money are controlled by completely different parts of your brain, and most financial education only reaches one of them. The part that understands concepts. The part that can nod along to an article at lunch and then forget it entirely by the time you're standing in line at Target 2 hours later. The behavioral part, the part that makes the actual decisions with actual dollars in actual moments, runs on something else entirely. It runs on environment, repetition, and friction. And until you design your financial life around how that part of your brain actually operates, you can read every personal finance book ever printed and still end up at 60 with less than you need. Think about what actually happens when most people decide to get serious about money. They read something, they feel motivated, they make a plan. They are going to save $300 a month, cut the subscriptions they don't use, stop eating out 4 times a week, and start investing before the end of the month. That intention is real. The emotion behind it is real. And then life happens at the exact speed life always happens. And by day 11, that plan is sitting in the same graveyard as every other plan they made in January. This is not a willpower problem. Willpower research, particularly work coming out of Stanford and Duke over the last 2 decades, is pretty consistent on this. Willpower is a resource that depletes across the day. It performs worst under stress and financial pressure, and it is one of the least reliable tools available for long-term behavior change. Which means building your financial future on willpower alone is roughly the same as building a house on sand and then being surprised when it shifts. What actually works, and what Gerald and Dayton understood without ever putting language to it, is removing the decision entirely. When Gerald put $60 in that jar before he spent anything else, he was not exercising discipline. He was engineering his environment so that discipline wasn't required. The $60 was never mentally registered as available for spending, so his brain never had to fight the urge to spend it. The decision happened once at the design stage, and then it just replicated automatically every single week for decades. That is the mechanism. That is the actual thing. And the reason reading about it doesn't automatically change your behavior is that your brain files it under interesting information rather than structural change to my daily environment. Those are two completely different cabinets, and only one of them drives behavior. There's a specific study worth knowing here. Researchers at the University of Chicago ran an experiment where one group of participants received detailed financial education, practical, well-designed, real content about the benefits of automatic savings enrollment. The second group received no education at all. They were simply enrolled automatically with the option to opt out. 12 months later, the automatically enrolled group had measurably higher savings rates than the educated group. Not slightly higher, significantly higher. The people who understood the concept didn't act on it as consistently as the people who never had to make a choice in the first place. That result should rearrange how you think about your own financial situation, because what it tells you is that if your savings plan currently requires you to remember to do it, to decide to do it, to feel motivated enough to do it, you are setting yourself up to lose, not because you're undisciplined, but because you're using the wrong tool for the job. Knowledge got you to understand the destination. It did not build the road. So what do you actually do with this? Not in theory, not in some future month when things settle down. Right now, with whatever messy financial situation is sitting in your bank account at this exact moment. The answer is friction engineering, making the right behaviors effortless, and the wrong behaviors just inconvenient enough that your brain chooses the path of least resistance, and it happens to be the one that builds wealth. It sounds almost too simple, but the simplicity is the point. Your behavioral brain does not respond to complexity. It avoids it. If saving requires logging into a portal, navigating a menu, deciding on an amount, and hitting confirm, a meaningful percentage of people will not do it consistently, and the research backs this up. But if saving happens automatically before the money lands, the behavioral brain has nothing to fight with. There's no menu. There's no decision. There's just a smaller number in your checking account that your brain quietly adjusts to within about 60 to 90 days. Here's the practical version of what that looks like. If you have access to a 401k and you are not enrolled, that is your first move, specifically to capture whatever employer match exists, because declining that match is the only financial decision that is both free money and a decision to reject it simultaneously. If you're self-employed or your employer doesn't offer retirement accounts, a Roth IRA with an automatic monthly contribution takes about 20 minutes to set up once and then runs without you forever. If your emergency fund is thin or non-existent, soit a separate savings account at a different bank, not your regular bank, somewhere with one extra step between you and the money, with a standing automatic transfer set for the day after payday, will build a buffer faster than you expect, and with almost no effort after the initial setup. None of this requires reading more. None of it requires motivation. It requires one afternoon of setup, and then you get out of your own way. The reading gap doesn't close by reading more. It closes when you stop asking your willpower to carry weight it was never designed to carry. Gerald's jar on the top shelf wasn't strategy. It was structure. And structure is what scales. What Gerald did manually, you can do automatically, and the compounding effect over 20 or 30 years is not a metaphor anymore. It's the specific, incalculable difference between the life you want and the one you're grinding through right now. If something in this video finally clicked for you, not just made sense, but actually landed somewhere it's going to stick, drop a comment and tell me what it was. Not for the algorithm. Because I genuinely want to know which part hit, so I know what to go deeper on for you. And if you have a story about a moment when you realized your system was working against you, share it. This community is better when more people bring their real experience into it, and someone reading your comment tonight might need to hear exactly what you've been through. If you want more of this, the psychology of money, the behavioral side that the spreadsheet crowd never covers, subscribe. Not because I need the number, but because the next video picks up right where this one leaves off, and you're going to want to be there for it.